Greetings, Ranger fans, and welcome to another edition of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where we look back on our classic episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews as we count down the 100 weeks to the 100th and final episode. So, welcome to everyone in the chat. Welcome Rudy, welcome Jenny C, welcome Sean, welcome to everyone else still coming in. Thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday evening. I know usually we do meet on Fridays, but MJ and RJ and I just returned from visiting my family for Passover, so good Pesach to all. I hope you're having a happy Passover weekend. I hope that you have a happy Easter tomorrow. I believe it might be Ramadan as well, so happy holidays to all those who celebrate, whatever you may celebrate. Even if you're not celebrating, I hope you're having a happy time. So, welcome Chris, welcome Dan, good to see you both as well. I am now officially in my spring break from school, which is great. Less great, however, is that I am still waiting on my desktop to return. Also, for some reason, I'm having some buffering issues, and I do not know why. So I hope that doesn't hurt things too much this evening. Welcome Nightwing Josh, happy Passover/Easter to you as well. So right now, it looks like not only had the primary hard drive failed, but also the remaining RAM board failed as well. So we are waiting on a replacement RAM board, which should be arriving on Monday, so that hopefully either by the end of Monday or else Tuesday, I can finally have my desktop back and get to work editing in earnest, which is setting me behind schedule. I do have plenty of filming to do, so I'm going to try and dedicate Sunday, Monday, Tuesday power reviews time to filming time, but yeah, I'd really counted on having the whole spring break to spend on editing, so I am definitely running up against what's looking to be a very difficult week to try and get done the things that I'm going to need to get done. So that is going to be a major challenge, getting 97 done in a timely manner without the major editing time that I was planning to have this week, or at the very least not as much, since I probably won't be able to dig into editing until Tuesday in all likelihood, if, knock on wood, if the RAM board is the problem and it arrives in a timely manner, etc., etc. I haven't had a chance to check our mail yet, so maybe if I'm lucky, then it may have arrived already. Probably not, but I'm going to check the mail after this anyway, because we literally just got home and I immediately got to work setting up the stream. So that sadly also means that we will once again have another week without a deeper look at rapid run through. Again, they're filmed, mostly edited. They're just on a hard drive that I can't access and work with right now. I looked into the possibility of maybe borrowing a computer from the repair shop, but anything that I were to borrow would just require hours of formatting before I could even use it. So I'm unfortunately not in a spot where I'm going to be able to edit for at least a few more days in all likelihood, which is very unfortunate. I'm hoping that this next episode comes together smoothly. It's one that at the very least should be simpler than the last two, but still not so simple that I can edit it in such a tight time frame. So it will likely take. I'm aiming for it to come out in May. It is uncertain if that will be early May or late May. We shall see. So I'm going to do my best, but but it's looking pretty likely that that one's probably going to be a little bit later in May versus earlier in May. And then we have 99 and 98 and 99 looking to come out during July and August, which will be completely insane because those two are massive episodes, with the final episodes coming out in October. So I basically have less than 6 months now to do the final 4 episodes, which is madness. That is complete and utter madness. I'm going to try to do my best, especially since we are also, trying to buy a house, which, we haven't found one yet, but we're in that process, so it's a lot to be doing all at once. Not sure how I'm going to manage it. It's going to be a crazy year. Plus, I'm going to be volunteering for helping out with midterms in whatever way I can with midterm elections this November. So, if you want to help give Jake some peace of mind, volunteer to help with like voting for primaries in swing states and things like that. That would help give me some peace of mind in general. But anyway, let's get to work on what we have tonight. And before we do, let us not forget, as always, our 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say with me, chat, Black Lives Matter. Number 2, say with me, chat, fascism is bad. And number 3, say with me, chat, superheroes are fun. So let's dive in with our favorite superhero turned supervillain this time. One, Mr. Database Ranger, as we dive into episode 74 of Database Ranger's Power Reviews. Our review of Power Rangers Super Megaforce, episode 14, In the Driver's Seat.
Previously on Power Review.
And then this was one of the very few cases where I actually utilized clips from a Power Rangers episode for the purposes of giving context for an episode of Power Reviews. Because once we established what it was that Dr. K did and went through. And I love that little bit where Database is the one who raises the question of whether he can be trusted as a point of misdirection. And it was also just really fun to kind of play with the landlord as being a sort of a red herring in terms of what was going on with Database. Having kind of set that up way back at the beginning of the year too.
And welcome to my new host. Hello, Doctor.
Benjax. How did you
leave Alphabet Soup into this world?
These eyes were so insane.
Well, don't worry, he's still in here. We've grown very close.
Also,
his personality is rubbed off on people quite a bit.
I
You can tell.
I had so much fun with this. I cannot overstate.
I'm sorry, do you think this was the part where I explain everything? No, this is the part where you go quiet. You have no idea.
This is,
They're all safe and sound. I'm sure the
it's so much fun playing a villain that's still behaving like a regular, like the regular character. Just what he's saying is very much, not something he would say.
you created. No one is coming to save you. What on earth are you going to do?
And I love that little bit with the
Last recourse door. Great.
it's
Disappearing.
it's just like the end of episode 28 where he smashes into the door when she escapes.
Please submit query.
Track Dr. K.
Designated user Dr. K. Status unknown.
Perfect. interdimensional interface.
Voice
I-
acknowledged.
It's so fun to make use of the squeeze. But
But
again, those eyes, the Venjix eyes, were such a challenge because I had to again trace around the edge of my eyes and track it from frame to frame, toss in all these layers to make it to. I had the roughening of the edges, the lens flare that tracked my irises. That was so intense.
Coming straight from Corey? Oh, that's interesting.
And
Gose is confused over
And,
the nature of the signal.
and with regards to Venjix's voice, that is very much me speaking over myself with some slight modulations for pacing and doing sort of a band path to limit the frequencies, which is very good at making things sound more robotic.
Yeah, like it's really that easy. Really? That easy? Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a walk in the park. Because dimension hopping always goes so smoothly.
Oh, really? Ads? I thought I was in the clear. Here we go.
System compromised. Alert. System compromised.
And then
Some of the sky shift to follow the signal.
and then the bits with Dr. K were just so great to do as well.
So, did they not call Earth Earth over there? Because I'm pretty sure it's still Earth. Of course, the Rangers totally failed to notice this. They just sail
Professor
right
Cog.
through the wormhole. Just like they also failed to notice Cog sealing it shut behind them. Really? Isn't that thing any at all?
For reference, this version of Venjix does not have all of the real version of Venjix's memories, but he does have Database Rangers memories. Hence why he's confused by Professor Cog.
We saw him. Scott and the Samurai Rangers were delivering a string of sword strikes to take down him and Sergeant Tread, who blew up and... Wait. Rewind. Sergeant Tread was the only one who exploded?
That is like such a subtle little thing.
Behind the explosion. That's a great way to fake your own destruction. Kudos to my alternate self for actually making an intelligent attack bot for once.
Yeah, it's acknowledging that that version of Venjix is a different version of Venjix. It's a combination of Alphabet Soup's resources with the resources obtained from the Morpopsners working with Kay's desktop.
So Cog and the Grinders ambushed the farmer, who is somehow not surprised by the walking gearbox until it actually
It was definitely fun to write database this way, like where so much of what he's saying is with the same sort of malevolence of
Emma, how do you manage to be more whimsical about something you've been doing for almost 2 years than the fact that you are literally
he has the malevolence of the Phantom Ranger, not the Phantom Ranger, the malevolence of the landlord, while still having the same speech patterns of database, the same idiosyncrasies as database, but it's just shifting that perspective from hero to villain. And that's just a really fun sort of writing exercise when dealing with a character and showing how you can change a character without changing the voice of the character, just changing the motivations of the character. Now, where did we film the Dr. K scenes and the Professor Cog's lab? That was at our college playhouse. As we've done with a number of other scenes here and there. But so the scenes that we just saw with Dr. K when they flash over to her, this one here.
So apparently Cog's plan is to keep them busy
So those are actually the tunnels underneath the playhouse. It's where we usually store like lumber. This is where we access the electricals, and it's a passageway that goes from underneath the stage over to underneath the sound and lighting booths. And it does also extend underneath the costume room as well. There's like a full loop that goes underneath all the major parts of the theater, with the exception of the actual house itself where the audience sits.
Maybe Professor Cox's experiments with the Sanzu River water are more successful than I thought. They all take turns trying to catch the sword, with Jake whipping out a random super megaphone and pretending to be a cop, then Noah trying to reason with it, Emma trying to coax it, and Gia
is also just ridiculous.
Something tells me that this is their first time dealing with a rogue AI. After failing to make their case,
and so much fun with so many of these lines. Oh, the audio's out of sync for you guys? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I'm having poor I'm having bad buffering.
They bust out the rest of the Super Megazords for a jumbo-sized game of Mario
Okay, back in sync for you? Okay, great.
Shocked to learn the Rogue Zord still has a few tricks up its tires.
But there we go. That onwards and upwards is Kay is going up that ladder. That's the ladder from the tunnels up to the lighting booth.
Yeah, between magically knowing about the Super Megaforce Rangers, forgetting about the Samurai Rangers, and not having a clue about the Armada forces, I'm starting to think that Cox's memory drives could use some serious defragmenting.
But it's really fun to do this whole review, basically like a normal database style review, and just those little bits where it just reminds you that he's vengeance. All right, and then that little secret passage is the back of the lighting booth, I believe, where it has this little door behind a shelf. It has this little shelf inset into the wall on a set of hinges that swings out to get you to the ladder. And then now we're in the sound booth, which just had all this sound equipment and just made for a great location to film at. And we actually shot Dr. K's scenes sort of in reverse, because I knew that the scenes in the studio were going to be, in the sound booth were going to be the most intensive. I really wanted to make sure we nailed it. And the others weren't really a huge priority when it came to the actual dialogue so much. And we had to do voiceover for most of it just because the sound quality was really poor down there. So many fun lines as Vengeance. It's great. So yeah, we filmed in the sound booth, then we filmed with the secret passage, then we filmed down the ladder, then we filmed in the tunnels below.
Wireless interdimensional interface.
And this little bit.
Find Dr. K from here, but can she find her way back to us?
Affirmative. Wireless interdimensional interface portal alignment device retains home
And this little bit where it's just like, it's just such a monstrous move.
Wireless interdimensional interface.
Hello.
Severed
has landed.
portal alignment.
Oh, wonderful.
Warning.
This is such a great This is one of our. This is definitely one of our very strong ones, I think.
My thoughts exactly. Confirmed.
Welcome, welcome.
Bye bye, Dr. K.
Really? Another
A commercial?
Why is with these ads? So weird.
No, without the connection, I'll lose the
And you can see from shot to shot that it's switching over between the actual Wii pad and that one like takeout box that we use as the stunt Wii pad.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to put, because we borrowed that Wii pad from Dave, I believe, and it is Dave's, and so we didn't want to lay down his nice Wii pad in the dirt underneath.
Of
course not.
the play out.
My questions. The
Hey,
first
Josh.
one should probably be, where on earth
And
did
that gives
this
you an idea of
crazy
how far
sword
the
come from?
flag
Yeah.
is on
I
this,
mean, unless this is what
because I
Kate is
said that
talking
as soon
about
as it
when she
came in.
mentioned discovering Professor Cogg's technology.
Hey,
but
chat.
I guess I'll never know now. Just like I'll probably
Yeah.
also never know how traveling back through the
He only got a little bit of how Dr. K discovered Professor Cogg's technology, and he won't even get the remainder of that story until episode 88, I believe, is when they get the rest of the story, or he gets the rest of the story from Dr. K.
Leave all the dirty work to the ground troops and teleport away.
Oh, and now we switched over to the lighting.
Frames.
Yes. I loved inserting that onto the screen.
Unnecessary acronyms.
I love the unnecessary acronyms, and it plays in so well with
Absolutely.
with Clash of the Red Rangers.
Right, because this is train.
Yep. Which was also on theme with the whatchamacallit.
You can see the
Ancient History episode.
the shoe rack that they keep the microphones in.
Yep.
The body mics.
Yeah. But I think that this alternate angle was the lighting booth instead of the sound booth. I forget exactly. I need to take another look to see if that's the lighting or the sound booth.
I was in the sound booth
For the whole thing?
for the whole of this sequence.
Okay.
But even that still isn't enough to finish the job. I'm starting to wonder at this point if he got a hold of my counterpart's hard titanium shielding. They may need to drop building on him if they want to end this. Instead, he decides to get the drop on the buildings and surprises Levira by growing giant-sized all on his own. And even the Rangers' 2 Megazords aren't enough to...
I mean, it is impressive that Professor Cog is capable of growth without the...
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, no, you're right. That is still the sound booth.
There, Josh, there. The pronouns are there.
Yes.
They, them.
Yes.
The sword wants to lend you its powers.
We're really not going to explain how this whole interdimensional communication thing still works with the wormhole closed.
No, they're not.
Nope.
When does Gosei explain anything?
We
so easy for that. All of a sudden, the wormhole just opens up the legendary Megazord's chest.
It is not as easy to join you at the desk chair as it is on the couch.
That's true. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You didn't plan this.
No.
I just crashed your stream.
But yeah, as you may have picked up from episode 96, that we are going to delve a little bit more into some of the consequences of dimensional travel and the mechanics behind that, and how some of the things specifically that happened with this episode came about.
Well, you could summon the skyship, or you could walk since you seem to like to do that so much, or you could, teleport, or you could just try to flag down a tractor. But it looks like the
who doesn't like a good hayride?
There you go.
About hitchhikers the last time. So the
He's not for it.
He's not having it.
Dirty shoes and all. And that's the end of the episode.
So, what did I think of it?
Well, that was a big old pile of nonsense. I mean, I think it's fair to say that I know a lot about the Power Rangers RPM. My host body has had Dr. K for a roommate for the past 2 years, and I'm willing to bet that even she couldn't make heads or tails of what was going on in this episode.
Correct.
Yeah, sure, she's had amnesia about everything since the defeat of my alternate universe counterpart, but still, we get zero.
It's also just fun to just drop all of these references from this very unusual perspective of as a reviewer.
Actually, I take that
Yes.
back. F-Zero looks a lot cooler. Let's stick with the flat Hot Wheel set. Oh, and let's not forget their
Camera's over here.
Yes.
approach to interdimensional travel.
I keep looking at the
over there at the chat.
At
Yeah.
the chat book. There's 2 laptops here.
And why can the Turbo Falcon headbutt reality? Answer me that! The only way this episode makes any sense with the
Oddly enough, apparently in Gokaiger, that was just like a thing that they could that all of
You could
the
just headbutt reality. They could all just headbutt reality.
yeah. Apparently there was just this thing with like dimensional walls, and the dimensional wall was sealed, and it was the only one that had enough power to break through, while the others had been depowered.
Plus, you would have to have a sharp enough eye to realize that Scott and the Samurai Rangers were totally wrong about having defeated Professor Cog 2 to 3 years prior.
That was still like a wild detail, the way that Professor Cog was not actually destroyed in that shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
But somehow, I doubt the writers put this much thought into
As well as the implications that Professor Cog actually used the Sansu River water on corn.
Corn?
Corn.
Corn.
Yes. No, I'm not talking about the track.
As long as you swap out the appropriate names for the weapons, powers, and hometowns, you can pretty much translate the Senpai and everything will match up just fine. It wasn't always even true of Samurai. And this episode is far from
It is
the
fun
only
to see
example,
Venjix getting
as
all
this
worked
season
out.
has had a
It
laundry
really
list of
is.
bizarre creative choices.
Like, I had
But
so much fun
Venjix
playing
references
Venjix
actually
TV.
making less sense if you've ever seen the past seasons. Ranging from the off-malign
Because it's just such a different take on on both characters in so many different ways.
Oh, yeah. Animaria?
And yes,
Animarium?
yes, the Zord is Superboy Pride.
I didn't
Yeah,
get that one.
it's a reference to I forget if it was Infinite Crisis or Infinite.
Crisis on Infinite Earths?
It was not Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was a different one where Superboy Prime, who was from another universe, literally punched reality and broke it. Basically.
Without a single throwaway
Yeah,
line
but
about
none
any
of it
the past
is
characters,
Yeah.
it would
normal
have
for
had to
RPM.
have been
Nope.
pivotal in bringing these changes about, including Venjix.
He's very
He's
upset.
very upset about that.
He doesn't like to feel left out.
May have had one or two nice character moments.
I hammed this one up hard.
Put aside the frankly almost
I
I-
love how Venjix DB is much closer to actual DB than Landlord DB is.
Yes, because I'm like, I can't just do the landlord again. I wanted to do a different kind of villainous DB that was not, just this cold, refined DB. Ugh.
Infinite Crisis, according to the chat.
That's what I thought. Okay, so I did say it right.
Backup power
Just
restored.
that
Initiating
ugh,
final calibration.
that grid.
All right. Well, that should preserve the coordinates long enough.
You see, there's the door.
Yeah.
That is the sound
Yep,
booth.
yep, you're right. Well, I mean, it's not like there's not also a door to the light booth, isn't there?
Ah, but if it was the door to the light booth, it'd be up the opposite side.
Well,
Given that I am facing the window.
that's the door to the balcony there.
Yes.
In the light booth, that would be the door to the staircase, wouldn't it?
Professor, Cog? That's impossible. If this were his facility, then that would mean...
So brutal.
Oh, cringe.
So brutal.
Cringe.
It's because it.
Calibration.
And here come the waterworks.
No. I need to call them. I need to tell them where I am. I need to tell them what happened to me. I need to tell him.
Oh.
Your musical editing really, really sold that.
Oh, you acted the heck out of that scene, hon. You really we worked that scene so hard because we knew.
Well, you made me actually cry, so.
Well, not in a method acting way, just in a we worked it until we got there.
Until
Until
we
you got.
so many takes that I was in that headspace.
Because that was what we knew you were going to have to do.
Yeah.
And we knew that we wanted to hit that line. So that was the first thing we did because we wanted to make sure that we had that done and taken care of and then did everything else after. Because we didn't want you, worn out from everything else first.
Yeah.
We wanted you to have that, still have emotional bandwidth after doing that.
I was not going to if I had to crawl around the tunnels first. So
Yeah.
We switched that up. We did it in reverse.
Yeah, I discussed with you what was going to be the best approach to make sure that you were going to be in the right headspace.
I know that. I guess they don't.
Yeah, they wouldn't know.
Hi.
But yeah, that moment was specifically designed to to get us a tearjerker entry on our TV tropes page, and it worked. Just that it's still I get a little teared up on that.
I get embarrassed.
You do so well. It stands on its own. Just even though it's obviously very integrated into everything that's going on, I feel like this episode stands on its own really well. Like, so if you know RPM,
yeah,
like this works so hard as an RPM tribute.
I mean, as much as we'd like to, there's a swear word in it.
Okay.
Lumina, try that again without the cuss.
Lumina, no swearing in the chat. But I appreciate your.
I was like, oh, that's a really insightful comment, but she put a.
But yeah, word. You're probably right. Yeah,
Lumina
the Rangers
said, "Holy bleep!"
The Rangers haven't seen her in years.
She's dead.
As far as they know, she didn't survive the experiment.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it's not like she really was one to consult with the others on what
it's not like she
doing.
tells anyone what she's going to do before she does it. She goes and does the stupid, and...
We know that she used Ziggy's teleport technology in order to do it. Yeah. So, yeah.
But ever since she tried to go get little K...
Yeah.
She's been missing from her own universe.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I understand.
The auto thing caught it because we have a swear filter on.
I do love that this evokes that reaction, though. All right, Dan, you got a question for MJ?
Yeah, but he's not going to hear you say that for like another minute.
But yeah, that's. I really wanted to make sure that when we hit the RPM tribute episode of Super Megaforce, that we did a proper RPM tribute episode, and I felt like the Venjix as DB was the best way to do that.
This is not the greatest episode in the world. It really wasn't the greatest anyway because it was Megaforce, but
yeah,
it was a tribute.
But it's such a great midpoint of the DB as Venjix arc. And it's really a highlight. You know, we kind of this was the one that really like hit people so hard because it's like.
Pardon my yawn. I drove all the way to the in-laws and back.
Because at the end of the previous episode, people still didn't realize that it was Venjix. Kay knows it's Venjix immediately because of the red eyes, but other people are like, "Wait, is this the landlord? What's going
on?
Yeah,
what's the weirdness?"
Or people were referring to him as Negabase Ranger or what was it?
Negabase Ranger.
Isabatad Ranger was one of my favorites.
Was that database backwards?
It's just database backwards. It's like a Sabotage Ranger. So that was just one where people were like, I knew something was wrong. Something had happened when he came back from the other universe. But that's not what it was.
No.
It ended up being that it was actually the Morpossners surprising him at the end of 70. Not vice versa. But because of what happens with everyone else in the next 3, and then what gets revealed here...
That's not database!
It seems like he's... captured the Morpossners along with the other 3.
Yeah.
Which is, again, just such a fun misdirect. Because people always knew that there was something off about the Morpossners. Yeah. But...
Not something evil.
And even if they did think it was something evil, it didn't occur to them that it was something like this.
True facts.
Like what we end up discovering with the Morpossners a few episodes later. Just... That... And yeah, we're almost up to the big 2-year break. Can you believe that we're getting that close to it now? That episodes after another month, episodes are going to start like jumping. Like, okay, this episode was in 2016, or was in 2015. Now we're in 2017. Those final 2 episodes of year 2 took so much work.
I mean, it didn't help that you were working at the boarding school.
Yeah, true. And I took the break to do grid defense.
That becomes your whole life at that point.
It really did.
You're never not at work.
No, that was a lot.
Keep that in mind if you ever get the chance to work at a boarding school and live at the boarding school.
It's true.
You are never not at work.
I mean, some people may have better work-life balances. I've definitely. I feel like
you guys all remember. I don't know if you all remember, but anyone who was watching live streams remembered the time that we had to pause the live stream because somebody flooded the bathroom.
Yeah. So I had to run out upstairs of the dorm.
Mr. Brody, we broke the shower. Water shooting horizontally across the room.
Oh man, that was wild. I like to think though that over the years I think I've gotten a lot better at work-life balance.
Oh yes, definitely.
Not so much life balance.
Did Cog even send them to the right dimension?
Oh, with when he sent them to Corinth, whether that was Corinth or not. I interpret that as having been Corinth, because we do establish.
Somebody showed up, right? Or a Zord or something.
Well, wait. I think I may be thinking of something that. Well, we do establish that Professor Cog was the one. Was there.
But was it maybe a slightly alternate Corinth, and that's why everything was messed up? That's a good point.
That is a valid theory. That being said, other references to this episode actually remain to be made.
Fair enough.
I was thinking for a moment. But we haven't discussed that yet.
Oh, you were about to spoil your own show.
Just a little bit. I feel like I've spoiled a little bit now. RJ is asleep now.
Yeah.
Asleep.
RJ, I came in after I got RJ down to bed, and RJ is out like a light.
Well, we did a lot of driving today. We had a very
busy
busy day. First time on a playground. It was lovely.
First time on a playground.
They were so good.
Yes, RJ met some other babies and used a swing for the first time.
Yep.
A slide.
Yeah.
And had a great deal of excitement. And so
wonderful.
When I put RJ down in the crib, RJ rolled over and immediately fell asleep.
Yes.
Which is very fast. So I was like, I guess I could go pop in on the live stream because the baby is out.
And this is one of your hallmark episodes. Even though clearly I do take center stage for most of the episode with just the intercuts of Kay's scenes, you get a killer scene at the end. You do. And if it makes you feel better, I'm tooting my own horn at that as well because I did write it.
You did. You wrote it, and it was very good writing.
And I directed you as best I could. But yeah, that was that was one where we. I love the reveal at the end that it's actually Corinth. The moment that she actually connects.
Even I'm tired.
Connects to back to the main universe.
So RJ didn't stand a chance. RJ was asleep.
And in terms of so there are a few things that are, I think, relevant when it comes to location. And this is something I hadn't thought about, deeply at the time. I think I can't remember how much I thought about this in depth, but as I'm reflecting on it, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is how it works. Because there's a reason that Kay doesn't pop back in while where Database is while he's still there, because otherwise she'd get captured again.
Clearly.
But she moved where she was. She crossed through a tunnel, went up a tower. So when she comes back, she'd be up on the next floor.
It's somebody else's apartment.
Which also aligns something else, which is that Professor Cog's lab is in a slightly different location that aligns well with
Database's apartment.
Because I mean, Database does have a basement apartment,
It's true.
and you did land
Because we did have
in what was functionally a basement.
a basement.
Yeah.
We did. It wasn't just Database's apartment in the basement. The actual apartment we were living in was in the basement.
And I have referenced before that Power Reviews takes place on the East Coast, as does RPM.
This is true.
So there's actually some parallel location work that goes in there. And actually, one thing that was really funny was when I did Power Rangers Grid Defense, had similar location lineup that actually works really well with where we live, because the idea is that with Power Rangers Grid Defense, that takes place in Omega City, which is the location that they found Gem and Gemma at in Power Rangers RPM.
Yeah.
And if you look at the map, Omega City is like a day's trip northwest of Corinth. And Eddie
Corinth is approximately
in Boston,
Boston.
According to Eddie Gazelian. And
and if you look at the map, also it's
and we live
Boston.
in upstate New York,
approximately an hour northwest of Boston.
Well, not an hour, but a day's trip.
Okay, a day's trip. Yeah. Not 1 hour, 1 day.
So we really we filmed Grid Defense functionally in
where Omega City
would be in real life.
Yes.
And that's always been a fun thing to me. So just those little bits of how things line up between different universes. And it feels also just appropriate that Database's apartment would align with Professor Cog's lab, considering all the dimensional hijinks that would happen in both locations.
It's true.
So there's so many levels of everything when it comes to the lore and the larger world building when it comes to
I'm
the
about
show.
to pull an RJ and fall asleep.
This is
I may have to take my leave of this stream.
Yeah. Did anyone have any remaining questions? Because I know that Dan, it looked like you were about to ask.
I think
a question,
he just
but...
said my name.
Okay, you were just saying hi. All right.
Hi to Dan.
And yes, this episode was filmed right around Christmas. This was. It did come out a little bit later. When did this one come out? Let me double check that. That was it would have been. Yeah, it was early February at this point.
But it was filmed around Christmas.
Yeah, I was just struggling so much to keep up with the editing and the effects, etc., etc. Those eyes took weeks to get right.
Yeah, they because you were getting the new Bendix eyes together. They're not the same as the landlord eyes.
No.
Which
the Venjix eyes are the most
landlord
complex.
eyes you could just turn on because you now have landlord eyes down pat. But
yes, I mean it's still time intensive, but not.
It is, but not as time intensive as
the Venjix eyes. Are so time
ridiculous.
intensive. Because I'm cutting around my eyes for every frame. Which is something I don't do for the others.
No,
so the others
I just overlay.
I just overlay. I do tracking. I do tracking with the lens flare, but that's just tracking. That's just moving a single point around for each eye. This is 16 anchor point garbage mat that I'm moving all the time.
Yeah.
So it's
a pain in the rear.
It's 9 between the 2 lens flares and the 16 anchor points. That's 18 points I'm moving instead of 2. That's 9 times as time intensive to do Venjix eyes as it is for DB or Landlord.
It's true.
As opposed to the more Posners, who are simply twice as time intensive as DB or Landlord because there's 2 of them in every frame. All right, so you are correct that it is getting late.
And we haven't eaten dinner.
We haven't.
We had a late lunch.
We had a late lunch that
and it was a main meal late
dinner.
lunch, but we should have a snacky dinner.
Yeah,
we could eat something else before bed.
I'm actually still feeling fine. We had a very early Seder before we left,
so that we could get on the road and get RJ home in time for bed,
and so that we could.
So RJ
still
went to
have
the park, and RJ
Seders.
had second Seder.
Yes.
So RJ is wiped out.
Yep, we had plenty of food at that Seder.
Yes.
My mom
Your
made
mom made a feast.
so much.
Such a feast.
We had the matzo ball soup. Yeah, the first night we had the gefilte fish. Chicken on the first
The
night,
baby
fish on the
ate
second
gefilte
night.
fish. The baby.
Plenty of matzah.
You wouldn't think, but the baby is into gefilte fish.
I always get the charoset, desserts, tons of macaroons.
Well, of course, the kid's into charoset. Who's not into charoset?
Of the hexagon members in the RPM verse, did any of them survive?
Or is this a spoiler question?
I'll say it's not addressed in the show. It's not addressed in Power Reviews. If anyone else from the RPM version of Hexagon survives, I will say that more of humanity survives than you would anticipate because of the human colony on Miranoi. So there were plenty of people who had migrated to Miranoi before the Ventrix attack. So there is actually quite a bit larger bastion of humanity surviving. As far as if any Rangers survived, I'd say that's as much of a question. I feel like that's...
The database doesn't know either.
I feel like that was left open-ended by RPM, and it feels like something that I could continue to leave open-ended. But like I said, we're getting late, and we should
we should do a little snack and a sleep.
Yes, I agree. And like I said before, sadly, no deeper look and rapid run through tomorrow.
Because the desktop's in the shop.
So that's unfortunate. I need to do a social media little announcement on that. And then I'm just gotta hunker down and go to town on 97 during this week.
Yeah, you could do a lot of writing and a lot of filming while the desktop is in the shop. Yeah,
I gotta do some writing on some Power Review scripts, gotta do some writing on so it just, like, I've got, like, a few scenes left to finish here and there that have gotten skipped over and need to go back and finish up. So, plenty of work. Grid Defense definitely connects to
RPM. Grid Defense is structured
as a direct sequel.
It was structured as it's one of its many similarities to its later the other adaptation.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the many similarities it has with Beast Morphers. Except Beast Morphers isn't in the same dimension, unlike Grid Defense.
That's true. Grid Defense
so they can still both coexist.
It's true.
It is still possible to have Grid Defense and Beast Morphers still being in continuity with one another.
It's true.
Due to alternate dimensions.
Because they're not the same dimension. Because Grid Defense is in the RPM dimension.
Alright, so all that said, we should wrap things up with 3 remaining equally non-controversial
I'm here for this.
phrases.
This is fun.
So, number 1, say with me, chat. Love is love. Number 2, say with me, chat. Trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say with me, chat. Robots are cool. Most of the time. When they're not taken over by an evil AI.
Or badly telegraphed by Halloween costumes.
Yeah, all that business. Conceptually they are, though.
Yeah.
They're neato.
I love how it's the third one that's always actually the most controversial statement.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Alright. So, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, MJ, for joining me. And I hope you all have a happy Passover, happy Easter. And until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.